Wow, how about this? Noble Gold, one of the sponsors of our show, has just been picked by Consumer Affairs, the rating agency, as the overall #1 gold IRA company in the United States. Talk to the team today if you're thinking about precious metals. And if you're quick, they're giving away an incredible 1/10 ounce American Eagle gold proof coin with every qualifying IRA or 401k rollover. You can't go wrong with Noble Gold. Call the team now at 877-646-5347 to find out more or visit noblegoldinvestments.com. Good Sunday evening. I'm still reporting on the coup. Remember Joe Biden's recent Red speech? You know, that vision of hell speech he gave, complete with 2 Marines standing at attention in the background? Well, ever since that speech, conservative voters have gotten even more hesitant to admit to pollsters what they're thinking. Nope, threatening voters with an image of what a hell on earth would look like with Biden in office for even 2 more years was not a good move by the Desperados. Americans know how to go underground when threatened. Well, Robert Cahaly, the senior strategist at Trafalgar Group, Pollsters, the guy who got the closest to predicting the monster vote for Trump in the 2020 election, came on Maria Bartiromo's show this morning with a new readjustment to his previous predictions made just 24 hours before. He now characterizes his predictions of success for the Republicans as very strong and it might be overwhelming. Cahaly also makes a great point about what this wave means for Trump's chances in the 2024 election.
Welcome back. The final stretch has arrived, with voters headed to the polls this Tuesday for the midterm elections. The polls have not looked good for the Democrats and Joe Biden, with nearly 60% of voters disapproving of President Biden's job performance. In the very latest congressional preference poll from the Trafalgar Group, Republicans hold a 6-point advantage over Democrats. Joining me right now is the Trafalgar Group senior strategist, pollster Robert Cahaly. Robert, it's good to have you this morning. Thanks very much for being here.
Great to be here. Characterize
what you're expecting this Tuesday.
It looks like not just a Republican wave, but it could be a very big wave. I've said from weeks now that there are a certain amount of voters that are not being identified by these polls because they're just hesitant after Biden, gave such threatening remarks about MAGA voters. There's just so many that aren't participating in the polls. So I've said from the very beginning, I think that the Republican turnout will exceed anything even we have predicted. So how big that wave is will yet to be seen because we just can't measure them. But right now it looks like it's going to be a very strong night for the Republicans, and it might be an overwhelming night for the Republicans.
Well, there are some hot races that everybody is talking about. I want to talk to you about those, some of these toss-ups. I know Kari Lake is doing real well in Arizona, the gubernatorial race there. But talk to me about that, as well as Blake Masters for the Senate seat in Arizona. And then I'd like to go through some of the other hot races that you think are most closely watched.
Well, Kari Lake, from weeks now, has just had a significant presence. I mean, ever since Hobbs didn't do the debate, and frankly, she shouldn't have because Kari Lake would have eaten her lunch. But ever since that, all the legitimate polling has shown Kari Lake with a nice lead. I expect that to be 3 or 4, even greater. We'll put out our final poll in the next day or so. But what's happened with Masters is so important. With the Libertarian dropping out of that race, I mean, he's still on the ballot, so there's still going to be a few people who have voted for him early, who will vote for him on Election Day. But the fact is, this thing is tied now. Matt Towery with Insider Advantage has the most recent and certainly one of the most reliable polls that you can look at, and it shows this thing is tied. We'll put out another poll, again, coming out in the next day or so, but that race is up for grabs. And when you're tied and you're running in this kind of an environment, that is just very bad news for Mark Kelly.
Let's move on to Georgia. We're going to be speaking with Herschel Walker shortly. He's my guest coming up. How does he look in Georgia, and what can you tell us about that race?
Well, ever since the debate, Herschel Walker has really been a juggernaut. I mean, all the reliable polling has shown Herschel continuing to get stronger and stronger. And I think what's more important is Herschel is probably flirting with not just winning, but winning without that runoff that everybody's predicted for so long. He is just literally hitting on all cylinders. And with everything that's happened in his closing days, with Coach Dooley having done that incredible endorsement video and then passing last Friday, it has just had a huge impact here. And I think we can expect to see Herschel Walker doing very well and quite possibly no runoff.
And then, of course, there are the massive upsets that we've been talking about. One upset could be New York. I want to get your take on Lee Zeldin. He's joined us a few weeks ago. And when you look at a real blue city like New York City or Portland, Oregon, it's pretty interesting to see how close things have become. What's your take on New York?
Well, New York, we've been the only ones talking about New York being closed for months now. And Lee Zeldin's campaign, by every indication we can get, is extremely strong. His numbers, even in the city, are just, no Republican should be doing as well as he's doing. So I expect that he has got an excellent chance of winning. Our most recent poll showed Zeldin with an advantage. It was 0.8, so it wasn't a huge advantage. But frankly, to have an advantage at all against Hochul is significant. And we also see a lot of people a lot of Democrats which Cuomo is still there, are backing Lee Zeldin. That's an important part of the coalition that's backing Zeldin. But he's got a lot of strength. Crime is the leading issue in New York. It's the only state in America where crime is #1 and inflation is #2. And that is benefiting Zeldin. And frankly, she's dragging down a lot of the congressional races right now with just how weak her campaign has been.
Yeah, it's interesting because some people say that Eric Adams, the mayor of New York City, secretly wants Lee Zeldin to win because he feels that that's going to be better for his fighting crime. But real quick before you go, Robert, if we do see this red wave, what does that mean for the 2024 election, the presidential election?
Well, if it's a red wave and you see virtually every candidate Donald Trump has endorsed win, then it's hard to make the argument that Donald Trump won't be a viable candidate. I mean, there are those who will try to make that argument, but it doesn't make a lot of sense. I mean, weeks and weeks ago, we were hearing how bad the candidates are, but if they all seem to win, maybe they weren't so bad. Maybe he didn't choose the wrong people.
I'm still reporting from just outside the citadel of world freedom. Good day.